Hey everybody, it is Brian here with Fireside Digital. Today we are going to talk about a quick win in the rankings of Google with something that is very, very simple. It is your NAP, NAP, or your name, address, phone for your website. Three things we will talk about today. Thing one is making sure that you have your NAP on your website. Thing two is linking that NAP NAP to your GMB, your Google My Business, or your Google Map citation, and three is ensuring that all of your citations are relatively consistent. And I'll give you an example with a company that we're doing some work for as well here today on an inconsistency with that NAP. So first thing, NAP, what is a NAP, where is a NAP, and what is it? We're just going to jump into, let's do window replacement, Houston. You know what, let me rip open an incognito tab real quick. It'll take us into the middle of Houston. We'll do window replacement in Houston, and we're just going to grab one of these sites here. So let's see who's up here. Houston Window Experts, here's window replacement, Window World Houston. We can see Window World Houston is number one, and they're in the maps. Let's go ahead and take a look at them. Houston Window Experts is up here as well. Let's see who our third one is. Gulf Coast Windows. Let's jump into Gulf Coast Windows, and I can already tell why. They're probably not ranking here in Houston. So we got Gulf Coast Windows. Let's roll to the bottom of their site, and they do have their NAP here. Now, I do not recommend having both of your locations on one single site because it will just confuse Google. So this is your name, address, phone. Strong recommendation that this always appears in the footer of your website on every page. There is a disclaimer to that. I will share in a different video on why we would remove that. But as it stands, it should be on every page. Now, to Google, it says, hey, this company, Gulf Coast Windows, sells windows to people in the Gulf Coast, in Houston, and in this case to Dallas off this one site. Now it does rank on page one for window replacement in Houston. However, it's not in the maps, and it is one of the top three or four sites basically for that term window replacement Houston. Now they've done a good job of getting it into the footer. So that's step one, get it in the footer. The next thing you want to do is I actually take this one step further. Now you can do one of two things with the footer and how to add a little more fine-tuned location identification for Google. And that is to either one, link to your Google My Business directly with this address, or to actually put a link to your GMB somewhere on your website. In almost every case, I use this address to link to my Google My Business. So we're going to do that for Gulf Coast Windows today. And it's pretty simple to do. First thing you want to do, if you have access to your website, if not, you can get your developer to do this in about 5 minutes. We're going to do HTML generator. We're just going to Google HTML online editing tools, and we're going to use the editor. And this is automatically going to allow us to do this in relative short order. Hi, Ashley. So what we want to do here is we want to just grab the address for this location. And again, typically this would be one. I would create a page for Gulf Coast Windows of Houston and a secondary page for Gulf Coast Windows of Dallas. You can probably watch this hit the maps and move up in rankings if you do that, because right now Google's thinking Houston or Dallas, which one is it? And I would be curious to see how many times Dallas appears on that page. But that'll be, and we'll continue to use this as an example. That would be for another day. So let's go to this online editor. We're just going to erase all this data here, and we will drop in. Let me actually go grab a notepad because it has some sort of formatting attached to it. Notepad will always remove formatting. So you can see we have the address in here. Now we need to go get the Google My Business for this business link. And we will do that by going to Google Maps directly. We're just going to head into Google Maps, and then we'll type in Gulf Coast Windows Houston, and they might not even actually be located in Houston. All right, so they are, this 10839 Train Court. Let's just make sure we have the right address. We do. All right, so this is their Google My Business. We're just going to click on the Share tab and send a link. We're going to grab this link. Now, if you wanted to, instead of linking the address to this business, you could put this actual map, and I would make it smaller. You could put this actual map, which pretty much does the same thing, into the footer of their website, somewhere down here, maybe over here. Remove this. Google Plus is antiquated at this point. It goes away tomorrow. And kind of accomplish the same thing. But for this, we would just grab the address. We're going to grab the link that we just grabbed a second ago. We'll copy that. We'll come over here, and this HTML editor basically will allow us to highlight this. And I would put it on one line and let the HTML do what it wants to do. We're going to highlight this. We're just going to insert a link, put the URL in here, and hit OK. And now you can see we can take this HTML on our website, and we can move it over into this portion right here. We don't want to grab the name with it. We don't want to grab the phone number. We could if you really wanted to, but basically all we're doing is just making sure that Google has one more layer of understanding that we are in Houston and this ties our business together. So that is step one, getting it there, the name, address, phone. Step two is linking it back to your Google My Business or back to Google Maps. And the last thing that we want to do is make sure that our profile for these citations are the same. And that just means that, let's say you're a business and you did business, Gulf Coast Windows did business for 15 years at 11111 Main Street, downtown Houston 77002. And over the course of 5 years, the last 5 years, they've done business at this address, 10839 Train Court. Businesses will automatically be picked up by citations. And those are just directories like the Yellow Pages, Super Pages, Houston Business Pages, things of that nature. So if they picked up the old address at 11111 Main, and then we have the new address for the last 5 years, so we've been in business 15 years, and 10 years, one address, 5 years the next address, we need to make sure that our citations are consistently providing the correct name, address, and phone that we're doing business at today. Now, I didn't run Gulf Coast Windows of Houston through our citation checker, but I used what's called Moz Local, and we'll just type in Moz Local citation checker. It'll be the first thing that comes up. And we can run this business through here, and it'll automatically populate it. All right, so we got this one here, and it pretty quickly said we're good to go here. So you can see that our primary sources are good. Google, Facebook appears to be incomplete, and if you click on it, you can actually go see if that is there. And I'm not in here right now, but it's just not there. So the address portion is just not in here, which is super cool. So this will give you an exact listing. So you can see the super pages. This is inconsistent. There's something wrong with the super pages, and I'm guessing it's pulling in the Dallas portion of it somewhere. It's just missing the website here. So this one's good. And so you can see they've done a pretty consistent job of making sure that their citations are correct around the board. So if you haven't used this tool before, I strongly recommend you do. So step one, get your name, address, and phone on the bottom of your website in the footer. Two, link that back to your Google My Business or your Google Maps listing. And step three, make sure that your top 10 or 15 citations, and these ones are pretty much not local citations. So these are citations you should have just in general as a business across the entire country. Houston has its own, Austin has its own, San Antonio has its own, New York, each one will have their own separate business listing. For example, Cron.com would be in Houston, the New York Post would have one, CBC website in Canada might have one, and things of that nature. So do those three things, make sure you're 100% across the board on your name, address, and phone, and watch your rankings increase. Stay tuned, we'll have more videos probably coming out once a week that gives you quick tidbits into little things to do to rank.